that, it's like, I respect your beliefs, it's very nice for you, but well, it's a bit stupid, really. I mean, why would you believe that? It's a bit silly. And I also thought that it was really illogical and that you could easily disprove it. So anyone who was believing it was obviously not looking at anything, not paying attention to evidence. And yeah, I sound a bit superior when I say that. That was a bit silly. I'd also never actually looked at any of the stuff, so I was saying all that stuff without actually knowing anything about it myself. There you go. I also thought that Christianity was really, really boring and full of rules that would make you a really boring person and would stop you ever having fun in your life. Yeah, that was where I come from. But then about the end of year 10, I started this is when things started to change for me. For pretty much as long as I can remember, I've never really felt secure in my friendships. I always feel always felt like people were kind of not really accepting me, and that I couldn't really be myself around them because they wouldn't like me if I was. And actually, I also thought there was nothing really about me that was worth liking. I actually have a notebook at home in my top drawer of my bedside cabinet, which has got so many things that I wrote, kind of similar to the poems actually. I used to write stuff in there when I felt really, really bad, and I wrote stuff in there that I really wanted to say to someone, but I didn't really have anyone to tell. And I was reading through them over summer, and I was just thinking that they're really, really sad. And I was so broken back then, and I really just didn't think anything of myself at all. So I also, some people that I was friends with were not really the best people at being trustworthy. So I kind of never felt like I could trust people with myself, like my real self, which is quite weird, by the way. If you know me, you'll know that I'm quite strange. I spent a lot of my life trying really, really hard to be someone else because I was worried that people wouldn't like me. And so around when I was 15, I had a couple of friends at the time, who I really wanted to be really good friends with because they were really cool and I really liked them. But they didn't really feel the same way about me. I don't understand, really. But yeah. So they did a lot of, they did stuff together and never really included me in things, and I felt a lot of time feeling really left out and quite miserable actually, which is a sad way to be. And then one day I just went, well, that's enough of that, quite randomly, because I've been putting up with it for a while. And I went to hang out more with some of my other friends who happened to be Christian, which was nice. And they went to a local youth group, a youth group at their church. Yeah, and they were always going on about how much fun it was and all the things they did. And because I really, really, really hate missing out on fun things, I was like, well, I'll go along just so I don't miss out. But yeah, and they had like a 20-minute or so gospel talk in there, but I kind of ignored it for a while, so I'm only here for the fun. I don't need to listen to this stuff. It's still silly. But then kind of gradually, I don't really remember how, but gradually it kind of, the things that they were saying, I started to realise that they were relevant to my life. And but I remember particularly one talk that someone gave, which was, it's like, kind of like, you're like a puzzle, in a way, and there's a piece of the puzzle missing, and everyone is trying to fill it with different things. Like people are trying to fill it with like money, or friendships, or relationships, or success, and like no matter how much you try and stuff it in that hole, it never really fits. And the only thing that fits in that space is God. And I remember I was just sitting in that talk, and I was actually on the verge of tears because I really wanted that. I really wanted to know that kind of feeling that I was complete, but I didn't know how to get there, and I didn't want to ask anyone because I had issues, and I didn't really feel like I could ask anyone about it. And then we had this weekend away with the youth group, and I went on that, and helped me answer a lot of the questions that I had, and a lot of things that were kind of holding me back from finding out more about God and Jesus and stuff. And I also went on a youth Christianity explore, kind of like Alpha, I think you say Alpha, but yeah, similar. So it was basically going through like the outline of the gospel and helping me to understand it a bit more, which was good because I'd never actually gone through it. So when I was going up, it was silly. It doesn't make any sense. I didn't really know what I was talking about. Yeah. And I'm a really, really, really sceptical person. Like, really sceptical. So I had to do a lot of reading, and I still do a lot of reading. I read a lot of Christian books, and a lot of stuff around, you know, that's about all the evidence and about all the stuff. Like I read The Case for Christ, which is a good book, and I also read The God Delusion just to see, which was very interesting. Yeah, and so I kind of had to like reassure myself a little bit. And I really think that God gave us our minds for a reason, and that we need to use them and to see the kind of overwhelming amount of evidence that is there, because there's a lot. But the most convincing thing to me is the difference that God made in my life, because I know that from where I was before, I never would have just picked Christianity for comfort or for whatever, because I really thought it was silly. But God, like, despite all the really, really, really horrible things I said about him, I did say a lot of horrible things about him to my Christian friends, actually came and like changed me. Actually came and found me when I was really lost, and kind of brought me into his family, which was nice. That's my page. Yeah. And since then, my life has been good. It's not always been good, because I would be alive, but it's been a lot better. I've found out that there is someone that I can always trust with anything, even if I don't feel like I can trust anything else. I've also found people in this very room, in fact, that are like the most amazingly trustworthy people I've ever known, and that I can really just tell stuff about myself to, and who I can be myself with. Anyone who knows me, I'm very strange. I don't hide that fact. I don't feel like I have to hide myself anymore.
We love you, Sophie.
And also, if you'd have told me 3 years ago that I would have been on the CU committee at university, being an evangelism person, I would have told you were crazy. There you go. God does miracles.
Woo!